Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the October 23rd meeting of the Trustees of Trust Funds. I'm Chairman Chris Christensen. To my right is,
Jack Falcon?
and to my left.
Bill Wilkes.
And that's it. We are all that there is. First order of business is approval of the minutes of September 2020. September 18th, actually.
I move we accept the minutes of September 20th.
I will second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. This is going to be a short agenda, I'm afraid, so we'll have to slow down a little bit. Correspondence. I have, among other things, something for the American Forestry Foundation. That's for you, Jack.
Okay.
It's a survey to see how we found out about them or whatever else. It's real exciting stuff.
No, I'll make sure it gets in.
So I have a question,
Yeah,
if it's appropriate to mention it now.
sure, go ahead.
So, was it last meeting or the meeting before, we had the school department, and a motion was approved to give them funds to buy tablets?
Yep.
I heard some discussion on the news that they're potentially gonna get some money given to them through the government to buy tablets and other things. What would that do for our donation? Is our donation cast in concrete, or if they do get alternative funds from somewhere else, would they come back to us and say they don't need that money? Or how does that work, Chris?
Well, there's a couple of different things going on here. Number one is the will that established that fund just says, give the earnings to the school. And most of them say grades 1 through 8. And there's one that's unrestricted. So it just says give them money. It doesn't say for this or for that. For the last, pick a number, 10, 12 years, they have come to us for specific items because the items they were looking for, let's say the libraries, when we did 3-4 libraries at $100,000 apiece, the $100,000 was more than the earnings of 1 year. So we dug into accumulated income. It's still income, not principal, but there were some years we didn't give them anything, and we just held it for their account. So they can come and say, we want whatever, $50,000, and there really aren't restrictions on it. This particular time, they came because they saw the need for Chromebooks or other laptops or devices, and it was not in a specific line item in their budget. So they're doing our stuff outside the budget. I think we need to encourage that in the sense that we can't just sit on this money forever. We're supposed to give it to them. So I don't think it impacts us directly in terms of Chromebooks or other, but we kind of wait for them to
So they could,
take the lead.
they could in theory just divert that money to a bleacher project or a
Sure.
new shelving in a part of the school department or whatever, anything.
Right.
Whether or not it was kind of normal and customary type of
Well,
expenditure activities. I mean, I'm
There-
just
there-
curious, does this money just get put into a big pot to be used throughout the school year, or does it have to be earmarked?
when we started doing this project type stuff for the school district some years ago, we started doing specific projects. And the part of the reason behind that is that at least one, I'd have to go back and review them all, at least one of the bequests says that This is to be used for extra type stuff, not to supplement the standard budget. So if we had an extra, what's the number now, $80 million that we could give them, they're supposed to still spend the $80 million that's in their budget. They're not supposed to slack off on anything, and our stuff is supposed to be supplemental. I don't know if that's accurate enough for you to know.
No, I mean, that makes sense to me. So you're basically telling me that if they didn't need this money for Chromebooks, they need to spend the money on something that would not be part of their general operating budget.
Right.
And how do we have accountability of that?
Well, I think it's on good faith, if you will, because in essence, they formulate their budget, they take it to the annual meeting, and if the people approve it, then it's there. If the people did not approve something, which is unusual, because it's gone through a budget process, then we'd have a different situation to deal with. I'm not sure that it would be appropriate, but it's not our decision. If they had a warrant article like last year for bleachers, and if the town turned that down, then for them to do an end run and come back to us for bleacher money, I think we'd have a little bit of hesitation, but they do have a certain amount of flexibility. I remember many, many years ago, probably 25 now, that the school superintendent's office wanted a fax machine. That probably makes it 30 years ago when fax machines were a big deal.
That Jim O'Neill?
We won't get into names.
Oh, okay.
But probably his era, yes. And a fax machine in those days was $800. And the budget committee took it out as a particular line item. But on July 2nd, when the budget was in effect, they had a fax machine, office supplies, because they can do whatever they want with the money once it's passed. So, the restrictions on what they can do with the money are very, very minimal restrictions. Next item on the agenda, still under correspondence. Did you have any more on that?
No, that's
Okay.
fine.
I've been back and forth with Janet Krupp,
Oh, library trustee.
library trustee, yes. She's the treasurer. She had some questions about money that we might invest for them if they get a particular donation, and how to go about that, and what the language might be in the document and so forth. So I've kind of been reading back and forth with her on the related statutes. There is most of ours come under RSA 31, I don't remember the exact number, 31. But there is a line in section 202, which has to do with library trustees. And in the middle of that paragraph, it says that the library trustees' money will be invested by the trustees of trust funds. And that's about the only reference. And then it says, and the entire income shall be given to the library trustees as received. Well, that's a little bit of a need for interpretation, if you will. Because if, in the old days, if you had a passbook savings account of $1,000 and it earned 75 cents a month, you don't want to be writing a check or doing transfers and bookkeeping for 75 cents. So this as received is a little bit of a interpretation kind of thing. But anyway, it's in that instruction to us isn't in the trustees of trust funds section of the law. It's in the library section. So we've been kind of going back and forth, and I just wanted to point that out, that we will continue to assist them if we have any ability to do so. Okay, the Zoominar on October 30th is an offer to us. I emailed it to you.
Right.
For something put on by Cambridge Trust for its customers. It doesn't necessarily apply to,
Right, yeah, I never associated that with, us having a meeting with Cambridge Trust. I thought that was just something that would be a value added for us to learn, and they're opening up to all their customers.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you're interested in it,
Well, I plan to go on.
you've got the registration form, and
Yeah.
apparently it is somewhat limited, so if you want to do it, I think you have to sign up early.
Oh, okay.
The
And I
audit?
was gonna ask Tom about the audit, but he's not here, so we'll skip over that item. Portfolio review. We are gonna be having Cambridge Trust meeting with us next week, or next month, I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, I thought wait a minute, that's November. December's canceled, right?
Right. There's a mild possibility that we might have a very brief meeting in December to assist the library if they get a donation and they need it to be accepted in the month of December. I don't think it's gonna happen because it probably would have to go through the town council first for a public hearing and acceptance by the town, and then the town will turn it over to us. So, pretty unlikely. But, we will have Cambridge Trust here for the November meeting, and if you have anything that you wanna prep them for, so they can have additional information ready to go, or printouts or what have you, then, let me know. If you got anything now, we'll put it in the minutes. If it's just standard review, by the time we get to it, national elections will have been over with, and that may have some impact on how we manage the portfolio, so we should be kind of keeping our eyes on that kind of stuff.
We may want to buy some more solar and alternative energy companies.
So you think your oil company stock isn't gonna be worth anything next month?
It's sounding that way.
I don't know, I was thinking gold stocks.
Yeah. They've gone up a lot already.
Yeah, the unfortunate part about gold is it doesn't generate any income,
Right.
and we're supposed to generate income. In any event, I think that will be the thrust of the,
In all seriousness, I think it's in the NextEra Energy is really a company that's focused a lot on alternative energy. The stock's been great already, but I don't know if that'll help support it up at a high level, or,
That was
Oh, what?
NRR?
NEE.
Oh,
It's selling at about, what, $240 now, I think.
oh,
Yeah, it was
I think
pretty
it's like
expensive.
300,
Oh, I haven't,
yeah.
yeah, I think it's close to 300.
Yeah, that's why I didn't buy any myself.
We have it in the portfolio, correct?
yeah,
Yeah,
that and I think American Electric as well,
It had a very good recommendation from Morningstar.
who, NextEra?
yeah.
It was, in fact, it was featured in Morningstar.
$302.27.
Wow, that's been going up. How many shares do we have?
I don't know, I don't have
No?
them.
I don't think we have a crazy amount, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure we have at least a few hundred.
The beauty of that one is they're paying 3.5% dividend, 3%? You've got it on there, Bill?
Let me see if I
What's the
can,
yield?
this yield. I don't know why it says that. It says 0.5%. I don't know. That seems wrong.
Well, maybe it's 0.5% per quarter.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
The problem with the yield calculation is that when you look at it online, it's calculated this dividend versus this price. And as the price keeps going up, that means your yield number is lower,
Yeah.
even though you're getting the same dividend. So it's,
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, as the cost of the shares go up, the yield percentage goes down,
unless they increase the dividend.
unless
This,
they increase.
I just looked on Yahoo Finance, and it says the yield is 1.85. So that probably makes sense,
Yeah.
because of exactly what you just said. The price has been going up, and,
Right.
you know, that drives the yield down.
So anyway, I think elections and that kind of stuff will be part of the discussion with Cambridge Trust next time. But I think if there's anything else you want to bring up to them, if we don't think of it right at your fingertips this morning, send me an email, and sometime prior to the event, I will
Okay.
let them know.
Yep. I'm hoping to make it back to Concord this time.
How's that looking?
Well, we don't take any polls on the local level, but a lot of people come up to me and say, Jack, we really need you up there again,
Well, that's good to hear.
Good.
including this morning when I did my car registration.
Well, you have a skill set in the background that nobody else in our delegation has, so I think you got a lot to add, Jack.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, the other item on here is the MS9 report, and I hope you took a look at the scholarship part of it. If you recall, in September of 2018, we took, I think, about $7,400 of accumulated scholarship income
Oh,
and moved it into the principal side of the equation, or the spreadsheet, for investment purposes to get a better return on it. And
well, the Watson Scholarship received $5,000. Is that the one you're talking about?
no,
No.
this is combined scholarships, all
Oh, okay.
three scholarship funds combined. The $5,000 that Watson gets is a check they write to us every year.
Oh, okay.
And they give us $5,000 in December, and we give it out in March.
Right.
So it's not really in there, except that we have some accumulated based on when the fund was first started in 2004, and that every once in a while, somebody doesn't take a scholarship that they've been awarded for a variety of reasons.
Because it goes back in. And
So it goes
gives
back in
it
and gets
awarded.
reinvested, but it's still expendable fund. Anyway, so that $7,400 is now worth $9,000 and some change, which isn't a bad return for the 2 years. But the new format that we have for the state doesn't really allow us to put footnotes and so forth, or other allocations that we've done in the past. So we're looking with Cambridge Trust as how to report that. So it's gonna be listed on the spreadsheets, which is where that $9,000 figure comes from, and you'll see it listed there. But how we show that to ourselves, to say we have X number of dollars available to give out in scholarships is the question. And the reason, two reasons I bring it up. One is, at some point in time, the three of us won't be trustees, and how to have that money recorded as being available for scholarships and yet still keep it invested well is one question. And the other is knowing that we've got a little bit more income on the scholarship side, we should be looking at increasing the scholarship awards. We've been giving out $400 on the Greenleaf scholarship for quite some time. That might be $450 or $500. We've been giving out $3,500 on the Gibson scholarship.
Which went down because we only received 34 last year, so we actually took from that account to make the 3,500.
By a smidge, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So that might be something we want to discuss a little bit more with Cambridge Trust, that portfolio needs to be more interest dividend oriented. Growth is nice, we need some, but income is the key, because we can't spend to growth. In any event, we should probably be looking next month at what we want to do for scholarship awards in 2021. I know the Gibsons would like to get that scholarship up to 4,000, and if the markets continue the way they have been, we can sustain that. But it's a slow process.
So how do we deal with the, just making sure that when we all get hit by a bus, that people know that that money is expendable? If we can't put a footnote in,
Well, we have a footnote on the monthly MS9 spreadsheet that we get from Cambridge Trust. We just don't have it in the state formatted.
so the Cambridge Trust could tell trustees, you know, if the trustees didn't see this or whatever, they'd say, hey, by the way,
Yeah. Well, and anybody reading the spreadsheet would see it.
right,
Unfortunately, what's happened this again goes back to the state changes. The spreadsheets are getting so big, so many columns, that you can't print them out anymore. You can only read them online. And that's difficult for group discussions like ours unless we all had laptops here and could read the spreadsheets simultaneously. It gets pretty cumbersome. And I know well, I'm not gonna complain about the state today. I got other things to do this entire weekend. But that's the thrust of it, so that we all know and can read it and take a look at it again and see if you think it's presented in a manner that makes it obvious what the purpose and amounts of money are.
Okay. Not that it would take 3 buses to write this out.
To do what? Well, yeah,
Remember you said if we all got hit by a bus, okay.
well, at some point in time, we won't be the
You
trustees.
don't have to cross the same street.
This cloud storage thing is a carryover. We haven't done anything with it substantially at this point. There's still a question of whether things should just be put on the website for general public access, or if we need to store it someplace.
And it's a town website, right? that
Yep.
Go, okay, well, don't they automatically send it to the cloud? They run out of memory space?
Well, I have no idea
Oh,
how that works, but in terms of accessing it, if we had a separate cloud account that the trustees would access for our quote-unquote internal purposes, that would be one thing.
right.
If we're gonna list documents, bequests, for example, or what else do we have that's long-term? The reports on the Watkins Forest.
Right.
So that's a 22-page, 25-page document, 2 of them. Certainly it's cumbersome to keep them stored and refer to them easily and so forth. So do you want to put that in a cloud someplace so we can get to it? Or do we just put it on the website with a link to something?
I'd say it'd be easier for the website with a link to it. So anybody that really wants to go and read about it can go and read about it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the sense of direction, rather than trying to open up a separate
Right.
account for us. But, good point, Jack. I don't know how much storage they have. Presumably it's unlimited, but,
I mean, most people that are paying for cloud storage are getting like terabytes.
yeah.
So I would not that there isn't a lot of stuff that goes on that, but I would assume they've got a lot of storage.
Well, and right now it's cheap because there's so many companies trying to build their, I hesitate for the word, build their cloud base.
I know a little bit about clouds because I have a low cloud in my building.
I would think that the amount of data that we're storing is small potatoes compared to the town.
Yeah,
So I would think we could piggyback easily on them and just become a, somebody that's, okay, somebody really wants to look at our trust, they can go ahead and click on that particular menu item and go to it.
well, the other thing that's scattered around the web, it might be nice to pull together in one place, is warrant articles that give us capital reserve funds. So we have those from the MVD, we have them from the school, we have them from the town. But to get back to, so we have a printout of them, let's say, that's easy enough. But if you were looking at something in a capital reserve fund and wanted to see what the warrant article was, then you have to chase around and find, you look on our spreadsheet and it says established in 1965. So you gotta go back to the town meeting minutes, and warrant articles for 1965 and read that. Well, some of that's pretty cumbersome in the sense that, I'm not sure how far back they've gone in converting everything to being online access, or if it's just, you gotta go back and read the town report from 1965. So, it's gonna be a slow building process to just get that stuff pulled together where it's more accessible for our purposes. And it says here, upcoming meetings, November 20th.
That worked for me.
That would be the week before,
That's the Friday before the
Thanksgiving.
week of Thanksgiving.
right,
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going away the week of Thanksgiving, so this makes it.
Well, just
No, I'm leaving on-
leave your leftovers.
I'm leaving on the 21st.
Okay, so that's November 20th, no December meeting, and January potentially, the 22nd would be our normal meeting day.
I mean, I don't know what I'm doing in January this year. I've been going away, but I got a big project going on, so I don't know
Uh-huh.
if I'll be going away or not, but either way, could we do that via Zoom if we had to? Or could I be on Zoom or conference call or whatever?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we have to have a quorum. Well, it used to be you had to have a quorum in person, but if you're doing a Zoom meeting, there's nobody in person,
Yeah.
and it's still all legal. So,
I'm just uncertain. I'll know by the next meeting what I'm gonna do in January.
Might be a lot easier just to go on your phone. Or you do Zoom on your phone.
Well, you can, yeah.
Yeah, see, I don't know how to do that. I have to use a computer.
I mean, your phone is essentially a tablet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I use a tablet at home for Zoom,
Yeah,
but
that's what I use.
your phone is just a smaller tablet.
yeah,
Yeah, I eventually got connected for that Rotary meeting.
I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't wanna be a
But thank
down,
you for the nice introduction.
I don't wanna be a downer, but depending on how this virus goes, we might have to do it via Zoom in January, who knows? We'll see. Things are in flux.
Well, I just had my COVID test on Monday, because I had to go to the VA for an operation on Wednesday, and I'm clean,
Well, that's good to hear.
yeah.
I mean, though, it's, should we go offline before we talk about this, but
Yeah,
non-trustee items?
the, school board, I haven't heard any more from, so I don't know what they're doing with the Chromebooks, so I just kind of carrying that forward.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that, I mean, are you thinking additional money for Chromebooks, or just what we've already given them?
Well, we haven't actually given them anything. We allocated it so that we'd keep the cash available. But
You-
we haven't heard a thing from them
So you're not,
since.
you're talking about whatever it might be, whether it's just asking us for a check or asking us for additional Chromebooks or
Right.
whatever.
Well, and the other thought is, we have some accumulated income for the school district that we should be encouraging them to come and ask us for. And I haven't had success in scheduling a meeting with Mark McLaughlin. So I'm thinking maybe we should just call the school board and say, hey, we haven't been in front of you guys for a couple of years. Should we come and just make nice for a meeting and let them know what we're up to?
Well, if they didn't need the money for Chromebooks, because they've got a separate scholarship for that from the state or something, then I'm sure they've got additional expenses that are related to the COVID crisis, like, personal protection, things like that. So, I mean, I would think that they could switch over if they don't need it for the Chromebooks.
I mean, I gotta believe their whole budget is kinda in mush, if you wanna call it that,
Yeah.
because certain expenses aren't being incurred and other expenses, like you're alluding to, COVID expenses are being incurred.
Yep.
So I'm sure that the line items are all changing.
Yep.
So we'll just have to kind of ride along with them. Annual reports, this is gonna be a Tom Boland issue, and I don't think there's anything, he's already generated the reports or the copies of them and distributed to the town council, so I think we're okay on that.
Okay.
And I don't think they've actually been posted to the website yet,
Okay.
so we will take a look at that. And the last item is, anything else?
I have nothing.
I don't know if this is a concern or not, but the cemeteries that we are trustees for some people have been putting up political signs. I don't know if that's a concern or not.
Well, no, it's nothing we have control over.
Right,
We have money for perpetual care,
right.
but that doesn't extend beyond the 4x6 site.
No, I just thought I'd bring it up in
Yeah.
case it was a concern.
I guess if it was a stretch and they were doing damage and we had to fix it, then
Yeah.
we could
Well, some people
potentially.
have actually come to me and said, hey, did you know that so-and-so's put up signs on the cemetery out the perimeter there?
Well, I have had an inquiry from the Historical Society. There's a group of 4 or 5 people that have been doing some cemetery cleanup, and they were asking Paul McCallie, if there's money for that kind of stuff and so forth. And one in particular, I think, was
The meeting house.
Abby Griffin's.
Oh, okay.
But we don't have any money for Abby Griffin. For whatever reasons, her name's not on the list. And there's tons of them out there that we don't have any funding for.
Yeah. Well, I know they were working on cleaning up the meeting house.
The Turkey Hill
cemetery.
Road, yeah.
Turkey Hill Road, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then Reed's, and then some of the others.
Reed's isn't that big.
Well,
You could do that.
I think Reed's is really the one that's on,
It's in bad shape.
it's not the one that's in Reed's Ferry.
Oh, it's not the one right there on
No, that's the,
corner of
that's,
Bedford
that's the
and-
Reed's Ferry
Oh.
Cemetery, the Thornton's Ferry Cemetery, the Turkey Hill Road Cemetery,
Right,
and then South Merrimack, which I think is actually Reed's Cemetery.
oh, okay, cause I just thought of that as South Merrimack.
Yep, I always do too, but there's different references in the stuff that we have, so.
Okay, so the one that's at the corner of Bedford Road and Daniel Webster Highway.
Yep.
Is Reed's Ferry.
Right,
Okay, not Reed's, okay.
I think.
Got it.
You know, we don't record it that way because we record based on individual gravesite name.
I think people just drive by there and they don't even realize that there's a cemetery there.
Yeah, it's not very big. Anyway, so we've been talking with them a little bit, and the long and the short of it is the town takes care of all of those cemeteries, and it really doesn't come out of our budget.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor, we are adjourned at
Aye.
9:38.